Hello and welcome back to the Ideal Wealth Grower channel here at YouTube. My name is Axel and I'm going to be your host for today. Our topic today is income, and I like to tell you a little bit about how we understand income at the Ideal Wealth Growers and why it is relevant to you, and we want to look at three different aspects that are relevant in the context of income and how we understand it, and maybe a few things that you didn't ever even think about when it comes to income. And I prepared a couple of slides and a couple of graphics that you will see as we go forward with this video. So income in general terms sounds easy because we all in some way, shape or form have received income, or at least we believe we have received income. And I want to show you three different things that are relevant in our context here on our channel. The first is what are the forms of income and which are relevant to you should you decide that you want to become an ideal wealth grower or you want to at least increase your income. Number two is what do you need to change in your thinking when it comes to income and the different kinds of income that are out there. And number three, we in our website and other materials that we have, we talk about the passive income millionaire as a goal, as something that we want to accomplish. And so I want to talk to you briefly about when we understand what income is, what is a passive income asset millionaire and what is a passive income millionaire and how are they different from each other. So before we get into more details, I want to kind of put the aspect of income a little bit into the context of our overall system. And when you're familiar and have looked at our website or in our graphics and stuff like that, the overall system is basically there where we say wealth is like a tree, or we call it the wealth tree, and that wealth tree needs to constantly be attended to and fertilized and watered and so forth so that it can grow. And so income is one of those ingredients that we will need to actually make the wealth tree grow. Now, when you go and say, okay, well, that sounds easy enough, what's the big deal? I went forward and tried to find out, okay, how does income really work? And so I looked first for what's the definition, and there are a whole bunch of different ones. You can do the same thing. And when you go, you see, okay, the one that I found that sounded pretty much simply enough says income is the money received, especially on a regular basis, for work or through investments. So it's right down our alley. Now on slide number 4, you will see that I have created what's called a wordle, because I wanted to know, okay, is there really only one form of income, or how much income is there, or what kind of different types of income actually exist? And I went and researched, and I surprised myself a little bit because I knew there were different kinds, but I didn't anticipate that there would be that many. So I found through my research 26 different kinds. So there's gross income, adjusted gross income, modified gross income, personal income, business income, cash, royalties, bonuses, appreciation, salary, and on and on and on, 26 different kinds that you can see here on our graphic. Now, when you focus on what we are focusing into and on when we talk about the ideal wealth grower and what we actually want to accomplish for the people that join our community, I picked a few of those 26 to bring together and talk a little bit in more detail. And on the slides, like on slide 6 that you're seeing next, I have picked a couple of these different forms of income and a little bit of an explanation what they really are. So if we start with the regular term income and how is it actually defined, the dictionary says it's a fixed regular payment typically paid on a daily or weekly basis made by an employer to an employee, especially to a manual or unskilled worker. And what it doesn't say here, that it is typically associated with somebody spending a certain amount of time for a certain amount of money. So you're basically trading time for money, and the time has an associated value. Something like, okay, I work for $20 an hour or $25 an hour. And so the more hours you work, the more your income will be. In comparison, you may have also heard the term wages. And what is wages and what's the difference between wages and income? And wages is also a fixed regular income, but it goes more to when you talk to a company or to the accounting department or to the bookkeeping department and so forth, and you discuss the money that the company pays to more than just one employee. Those are the wages. And they're typically expressed like either for a person in how much that person makes per year, or how much the company pays in wages, for example, per month. So you might say somebody makes $50,000, $60,000 in wages per year, or the company has a payroll that equals wages of $100,000 a month, $200,000 a month, depending on how big the company is. Now then there is a term called compensation. You would ask yourself, okay, so what kind of income is compensation? And compensation is the income we talked about before, where you're trading time for money, or you're basically getting money for a certain amount of time that you spend. But compensation includes other things as well. So you might get stock options, or you might get shares, or you might get bonuses, or things like that. And all things together make a package, and that package is your compensation. You have probably also heard something similar when it comes to sports. The really famous, very good athletes typically negotiate a compensation package, and that is a certain amount of money for a certain amount of time, but it's composed of all kinds of different things, and sometimes it can also be related to accomplishing a certain goal, right? If you say, okay, I'm in sales, and if I increase sales from last year to next year by 10%, then I get a bonus of 20% on top of what my regular income is. Now, when we understand that, the next question becomes, okay, so I've heard about income, wages, and compensation. What the heck is salary then? Because that's kind of been thrown around. And the difference between the regular income, where you trade time for money, and salary is that you basically negotiate with your employer what the work is that needs to be done. So for example, you are in charge of managing a project. And when the project starts, you need 60, 70, 80 hours a week to get it going. Then in the middle, it may go down 30, 35, 40 hours a week. And then towards the end, when everything comes together, it goes up to 60, 70, 80 hours again. The money you get every month is the same, and that's your salary. The amount of time that it takes to get the job done is not connected to the amount of money. That's a salary. Now, those are all kinds of payments that you get in the form of income that have something to do with work. And then there are a couple of other ones of income that are also relevant for us because they have to do with investments. And the first one on that is dividends. And dividends is basically money that you receive because you own, for example, shares in a company. If that company makes a profit, then the leadership in the company can decide how many shareholders do we have, how much profit did we make, and then divide it up, the profit, by the number of shareholders, and everybody gets a certain amount of money, and that would be your dividend. Then there's another form of income, and that is if you were to imagine that you were a bank. Now, how does a bank make money? They basically take in money that you might put into a savings account and pay you a certain amount of interest, a percentage of the money that you put in, like right now maybe 1% if you're lucky. And then they make loans to people that want to buy something like a house or a car or equipment or something like that, and they charge you interest, let's say 4%. So they give you 1% when you put it in your savings account, and they charge you 4%, and those 3% interest is the income for the bank. The money that the bank makes to operate and run everything and hopefully make a profit. Then the last one that I want to talk about, and probably the most important one for ideal wealth growers, is that what we want to get from income where we trade time for money or where we get a salary to what's called passive income, where we no longer have to actually go to work to make any money, but the money comes in passively. The definition officially is earnings derived from a rental property, limited partnership, or other enterprise in which a person is not actively involved. Meaning, like, we are not working in the house that we own. We are not managing the house that we bought. We are not really actually daily involved with our investment property. We're just receiving the income that is generated from owning that property. So those are the kinds of incomes that I wanted to touch on. Now you see at the bottom of the slide that I also put tips. And I put this because of the times that we are living in right now, and the struggle that a lot of people go through. So not everybody gets tips and not every industry has tips, but if you're out and about and you see an opportunity to give a tip, I want to ask you to be generous. That's not necessarily something that has to do with income except for the person who gets the tip, but if you have an opportunity, please tip generously so that we can help our fellow people around who depend on the tips to make a living. So with that being said, we have now a pretty good idea what kinds of incomes are out there, and I mentioned that one of the most important ones that we're striving to and that we're setting a goal, or I call it the BHAG, which stands for Big, Hairy, Audacious Goal. The big goal that we're setting out for ourselves as Ideal Wealth Growers is to get as much passive income as we can so we no longer have to work, or I call that economic independence. But there are two different kinds of passive income and passive income status as a goal that we want to accomplish. The first one is called the Passive Income Asset Millionaire. And what that means is you buy houses, you buy one and then another one and another one and another one, and let's say each one of those houses costs $100,000 to purchase. So if you have 11 houses, that would be $1.1 million worth of houses. That would make you a passive income asset millionaire, because each one of those houses is an asset, and if you have 11 of those and add them all up, it's more than $1 million, so your asset value is more than $1 million. That is the more reasonably achievable goal that typically with a normal income, normal job, you can probably accomplish that in 6 to 8 years, maybe 9 years. Some people even do it faster, depending on income and other stuff. Now, that would be a first goal. The really ambitious goal is to become a passive income millionaire without the word asset. And I did the calculation, and that would mean that you have so many assets that you can make $83,333 per month, every month as passive income. That would add up to $1 million a year. Now you may say for yourself, I don't really need to make $1 million a year, but I wanted to make you aware what's the difference between a passive income asset millionaire and a straight out passive income millionaire. So I encourage you to set a goal for yourself. Maybe you want to start with the asset income millionaire and then see if you want to take it any further. So in that context, I would like to ask you to answer the question that I have for you for today in the comments below, and that is, what is holding you back from getting onto the path to become a passive income asset millionaire? What is it that has kept you back from doing that so far? So that concludes our episode for today. I hope you learned a lot from the different kinds of incomes and stuff that is out there. I'd like to ask you to help us grow our channel and let the YouTube algorithm know that you are interested in the content that we are presenting. And so to make that happen and to help us out, I would like to ask you to hit the little like button, to hit the bell so that you get notified every time we post a new video, and ideally subscribe. And if you would be so kind, please share this video with your network and with your friends so they can learn about income, and you help us out to grow the channel and let more people know about the Ideal Wealth Grower system and what income and passive income millionaires is all about. Thank you, and see you next time.